I'm humbly saying this. While I say this, I also believe that I was not always as confident about myself. I was not always self-obsessed about myself. And therefore, I'd like you to take back 3 odd decades in that classroom that I grew up, in an English class of Sudha ma'am, when the principal was going to come and inspect, and we all were expected to speak half a chapter from the textbook. I was the tiniest, leanest, slightest, weakest, intimidatable, bullyable, introvert, and very fearful kid. And because I was the tiniest, I was the one sitting on the first bench. Luckily, the talk had to start from the last bench, so there were 10 rows, and each row had one student to pick where they had to read out that half chapter. It started from the last bench, and I was praying to God that I hope that when it comes to my one, I hope it's not me who is picked by Sudha ma'am to speak up. But guess what? It so happened. While the one on the 10th bench and 9th bench, those extremely strong, good-looking, tall guys in front of me, maybe a feet and a half taller in the same class, I was just intimidated in the awe that whether I would be able to do when it comes to my turn. I wish that it was not my turn, but as I said, that when the time came, Sudha ma'am asked, Kirat, can you please stand up? And I just stood up and I started speaking. I had a good grammar, I had a good pronunciation, but at the same time I didn't have it in me to be standing up in front of people. I was extremely fearful. And by the time Sudha ma'am realized that I was embarrassed, she really very nicely rescued me out of it and just said that, Kirat, it's okay. You always do well. Let Samar do it today. And luckily I was escaped out of it. But after the day got over, when I met Sudha ma'am, she just said that, Kirat, you've been doing everything right, but I've not been able to give you that excellent in the report card. There's something called good, very good, and excellent. One of these you get in the report card, and in your English report card, I'm not able to write excellent, which I really want to. It's all about excellence, isn't it? We all strive for excellence in our lives, and we always attribute something called skill, talent, and ability to determine whether are we actually successful and whether can we be excellent in what we are doing. But the question is that is it really the talent, skill, and the ability which matters to make you excellent? Is that what works? Because if it did matter, then all the talented young boys and girls that studied with us through the school and colleges, they would have been much ahead of us in life. And a lot of time, all of us see that not all of them have done equally well for themselves when it comes to the life. We all see, because talent breeds ego. Talent may not solve all your problems. It doesn't. What is excellence? Probably to be in the top 2 or 5% in your profession. But tell me that aren't everyone in that 2 to 5% equally talented? I think they are. But then what separates them from really the achievers and just being excellent? I think that is something called attitude that I would like to speak here today. Because it's not just the skill, talent, and the ability that you possess, but eventually it is how you use your skill and ability to your benefit, and overall to achieve excellence is very important. And therefore, I'm going to go back again to that fearful boy who was born into a very modest household, very middle-class household, but to a very extremely strong-headed, dynamic, disciplined, with a great work ethic father, a typical housewife mom, 2 younger sisters who always look elder to him, and people said that, how is your younger brother doing? And that's the kind of household I grew up in. I was extremely shy, shameful about myself, fearful about myself and what I was doing. But all I liked to do when I came back from school is just pick up that plastic ball, hit it on the wall, allowed it to rebound, and at every rebound I used to use that small thing that we used to wash the clothes to hit it stylishly again. And that was my time after school when I felt that. Looking at this, my mom decided that it's too much of noise in the house, rather you go to a cricket camp close by. She sent me to a cricket camp with a neighbor mate of mine, and she just said that to my neighbor mate, why didn't you take him along, because all the time in the house is just making too much of noise. But the intent behind that was she wanted me to explore and probably see something outside. When I went to the cricket field, I just found that solace in myself. I think I could not express myself in words, and that's where I found that my expression now in action were incredibly strong. Those 2 hours of the day for those 3-4 years that I practiced on the cricket ground between the age of 8 and 12 or 11 were the best 2 hours of my day. When I started off, those 6-7 feet tall tennis ball catches really grew into 70-80 feet hardball cricket catches. And as a small boy, I still ran very hard and made sure that I went and caught all those and plugged that into my hands, although I was not extremely strong and tall enough to do that. Going forward, my parents changed my school. They changed my school because I think I had to be in a better school at that point in time to represent the inter-school tournament. Because the way you progress to any professional cricket is to start from the inter-school tournament, then you progress to the district team and the state team and then the West Zone team and then the Indian team. So I got changed my school, and when I went to the new school, I found myself now in a better infrastructure to have playing cricket. But everything behind me yet was not over. I was still fearful about things happening with me. I was still not expressive about my thoughts. I go to a new school, I get into the selection process. I didn't get selected the first year when I was 14 for the under-16 team, but next year I did get selected for the school team. At the same time, I was now selected for the district team as well as the state team. Now I was seeing myself that all the hobbies that turn into likings and then the interest and then the desire now was coming out in passion. I was now getting to go out because that's the time when Tendulkar was on his peak, and all I wanted to do is just go out and express myself on the cricket ground and play good matches. At that point in time, my coaches just felt that I should have just opened the innings because I was too slight. I could not hit a ball outside the 30-yard circle. I was too slight, but I had a great technique. I had the talent and the ability to face the best bowlers. So they decided for me to open the innings so I could just, if you know a bit of cricket, when in a 3-day game, the best thing for an opener to do is to kill time for the middle order batsmen to come and then score runs. Get the glaze out of the ball, get the moisture out of the wicket, and then the middle order can come and score. And that's a team game, that's what you expect an opener to do. That's what I was expected to do. I played extremely well till I scored 20-30. But then the moment the spinners would come on, then you have the silly point, forward short leg slips, and they start abusing to death. They started abusing all the talent and ability I had went down the drain because I started getting fearful. And in that fear, I started playing bad shots. When I played bad shots, I couldn't convert my 20s and 30s into 50s or 100s, and then I would get out in around 20, 30s. My coach would tell me, Kirat, you have everything to score a big 100, but you are not scoring them because there's something missing in you, which I believe is the killer instinct. That again proves that it's not always your talent and ability which really determines that whether you can achieve your success. I was missing on something like that at that point in time. Going forward, first time I got to lead a team in the inter-school tournament when as a standing captain, because the real captain at the time got injured. I got to captain, and that's the point that I really identified the real me. When I went for the toss, I went out to select the team, I had a team talk, and that's when I realized that all the time, all the fears I had, now I had to deliver. And when I just went out as a captain, I started abusing to the opposition batsmen. And that game, on this very ground where this building is built, on the MG Science College ground, I scored 100, I remember, and we won the game, and that was my first encounter as a captain. And now I realized that I now can express myself and I could do stuff. Going forward, while I was just getting my foot about myself in cricket, I was called to play in the Sussex County League in England. It was a different ball game altogether, from the 40 degrees of temperature, now going into 7-8 degrees in the midst of April, and I didn't have a clue. I went there, I couldn't perform to start with, and I was really feeling low about myself again. Again, I didn't have the talent, but again, my belief went for a toss. And I just started feeling that am I really good enough, or I'm just that frog in the pond who is just doing well in a particular area. I tried, survived for 3-4 weeks, but I couldn't get runs. And then I made a call to my dad back home, saying that it seems that I'm not feeling well here, I'm homesick. I was trying to make an excuse to go back home, but then he realized that it was not the homesickness, but probably he realized that it was the lack of performance that I was struggling with. He didn't tell me, but he just said that hang on for 2 more weeks, see how it goes, and take a call after that. He, to my surprise, just appeared after 2 days before my next match, and he just came and stayed with me with the home food, and just said that the great thing that he said to me at that point in time is, don't look at the bowler, just look at the ball. Don't look at the object, just focus on the subject. You know, all you have in you to score, perform here as well, but because probably you're thinking too much and you're fearful about whether you'll be able to do it, I think you're struggling. And that confidence again came back. Next morning when we went out to play the game, I told my captain that today I'm going to bat number 3. Usually I bat number 5 there. I said I'm going to bat number 3. And when I went and played my first ball after the leg stump, I told my partner that today I'm going to score 100. I hope you want to bat with me through. And that's the kind of confidence I gained, and I actually got a match-winning 100 that day and really felt great and waved the bat to my dad in the stands. And I just, at that point in time, At that point in time, I again felt it was not my inability. It was not that I was not good enough, but it was something that I didn't back myself. I did not have that faith in me to pull it off. And that's where I feel that it's not always your talent and ability that makes sense. It's always how you use your talent and ability to your benefit is going to determine whether you achieve excellence in life or not. That phase was going great, and eventually, after that season, all the clubs around started picking on me, and I played 8 serious professional seasons of Sussex county leagues and different county leagues in England. I did that. Year after, I come back, and I get to the first century of my Ranji Trophy career at the Eden Garden, where Ganguly was on the peak of his captainship then, and he was captaining West Bengal, and we were playing a quarter-final match of the Ranji Trophy at West Bengal, and I got a beautiful 100. But what really mattered in that 100 was when I was batting around 30, a very renowned former Indian captain's son, I can't take the name here, but very renowned Indian captain's son was also playing the game, and he was standing at Silly Point. And when I was on 30, he just mentioned very bad abusive words. And I just looked at him at that point in time, because now I was a confident guy, unlike the one when I was 16. I looked into his eyes and said that, buddy, just do your job. We'll see what happens later. It went on, and I was on 94 when he came on to bowl. And when he came on to bowl, I was extremely confident then, and I hit a 6 to get my 100 in his bowling. And I walked up to him, and I told him, pardon my language, don't teach your father how to make babies. I was not going to use the word, but I just told him that in his eye, and that day I think the real me arrived. All the talent, the skill, the ability that I had developed over the period of time, now I felt that I am on the top of the game, because now I felt good about myself. That went on. Then 2 most important things happened in my life. I got married to a beautiful wife called Purva, and the same year I also became the captain of the Gujarat Ranji Trophy team, because now I was consistently performing well. Now at this point in time, at 26, I just felt on the top of the world. I was scoring the highest runs for Gujarat State. I was playing the Devdutt Trophy, which is the zonal team. And now I was just a shy away from playing for India. And now I just felt that all those fears that I grew up with and all that weaknesses, because now that little boy who could not clear the ring of 30-yard circle was hitting 6s with the flick of wrist. All that I wanted is just probably belief in myself, which I had now to the top. And now when I was leading the Gujarat Ranji Trophy team, I was just sitting across with the best of the best cricketers in the country and the world, giving press conferences on ongoing international matches. It was when I was 28, although I was doing extremely well and was on the top. I just finished the season when I was 28 and scored a half century against Maharashtra. I was sitting in my dad's office, and that's what I used to do, because I had a couple of months before I went on to England every year in April or May, just after having played the Ranji Trophy. That day I was sitting in my dad's office, and 2 very well-suited, booted gentlemen just walked into my office to meet my dad. And since my dad was in his meeting, he said, can you just engage with them? While engaging with them, I came to know that they were the biggest law firm, probably one of the 5 most biggest law firm in the country. And he was the managing partner who had some meeting here and wanted to see my dad. He spoke with me, and he knew about me, broadly, that I was playing cricket and I was captaining Gujarat State. And he just said, you have 6 weeks before you go to London. Do you want to come to Bombay and intern with us? Since you have already studied law locally. And I had no clue. But in the evening when I asked my dad, he said, this is an unbelievable opportunity for you to do. And so I just called him the next day and said, yeah, I'll come for the next 6 weeks and see how it goes. I moved to Bombay. And I just see myself working, as the Gujarat Ranji Trophy captain. Now I'm working with those freshers coming at 20 years old as an intern for them. And now I just see myself at this point in time I started thinking, first time ever after having gone to work, I just started thinking whether am I really going to make it to the Indian team at 28? Because all I wanted to do in life was to play for India. At this point in time I just thought that I may not, and I decided to tell my Sussex County League that I'm not going to come, and I decided to continue to work for the next 4 months, which I was supposed to be in England. Come the winter, come the Ranji Trophy, the most important thing in my life, I then decided that I'll not even play Ranji Trophy now. I just want to keep working, because I just felt that this is something which I think I want to do for the next 3 decades of my life and intellectually get challenged, because what I did, what Harshal just said. It's not always about success and the passion that we're talking about. I also wanted to excel. Cricket was my passion, and I wanted to now excel extremely well, and I was seeing that opportunity coming by. I decided not to play cricket anymore and decided to stay in Bombay for 3 years. At this point, I'd like to say that we usually get stuck in our ideas. We usually think that what we are doing is something that we are good at and we should continue doing it. But we must realize that in life, times come when you need to evolve yourself and probably get out of what you usually think. And that's what they say. It's the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. The fixed mindset is something that you live with all the time, which doesn't allow you to think beyond. And when things don't happen your way, you feel hopeless about yourself. But there's something called a growth mindset, which allows you to stay open and embrace whatever comes across your way, and you keep all the receiving open for you, and you see at what stage in life what really matters to you. That happened to me, and I really continued working there. So now I'm practicing lawyer. I'm now also extremely confident of closing my transactions. I've just done a $150 million transaction, closed it exceedingly well, and all the things I've learned is purely out of my sport, that eventually what matters is, life is like a test match. It's a 5-day match. Eventually we all want to win the match, but you need to take it stage-wise. You just can't go berserk about it. As we say in test match, win each session, and eventually you will see yourself winning the test match. We strive happiness, as Harsha said. Happiness is very relative, but I believe that the presence of fear and guilt is something what we call unhappiness. We kind of logically, in the bookish knowledge, we kind of concentrate our heads so much that we somehow tend to overlook our intuitiveness. Books will tell you to do random things, or maybe things very systematically, which everybody does. But where creativity comes from is your intuitiveness. So don't bog yourself down with too much of bookish knowledge and logic, because at the end of the day, as I said, you need your intuitiveness to come across. And all your talent and ability will have no relevance if you didn't know how to use it for yourself. I've seen, and the most important part, coming from that very modest, fearful kid to now standing in front of you and delivering this lecture, and now being a very accomplished lawyer and a cricketer selector, I just feel that always have the pride in yourself. Back yourself, live your alter ego, find what you always wanted, and that is what I exactly found in myself, and that's something I see about myself, and I feel this for myself now.